On today's episode, we're jumping right into wrenching on this snowblower, getting her back together, and giving her her first start with the new carburetor. If you enjoy channels that get right to work, less talk, more action, make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more content just like this. So the first thing we're going after is replacing this spark plug. You'll see right here we're taking off the boot and then just using a normal spark plug socket, 5/8. We'll go ahead and crack this loose. And you'll see right here just the discoloration of the electrode in the bottom of the spark plug there. Kind of that black color we're looking at the bottom. Definitely not surprising with our fueling issues. And here's our new spark plug next to it, just from a out-of-the-box comparison. And with this new one, we're going to start it by hand, start the threads by hand, so we can make sure that the spark plug is of a decent quality and actually threads in without much resistance. So here's us continuing to thread it by hand. And then as we get our ratchet on here, we're just going to be mindful the fact that we have a longer ratchet. We don't want to apply too much torque to these threads. It looked like it had a crush washer on it, so we're going to get it snug and then give it, like quarter turn. You'll kind of see there. And then we'll go ahead and get our boot back on, make sure we have that good quality click and feedback when we go ahead and insert that. And now we're prepping to install the carb. We got the gasket on there, that block you can see. And the first thing we're going to deal with is the throttle. In previous videos, I've mentioned this little helper spring that seems to get forgotten quite often. So that's going to hook into a little smaller hole. Hard to see with the zoom here, but right in front of where the main throttle linkage is going to go. And then our throttle itself is going to be kind of like a J hook. So you'll have to see me kind of work the carb here in a couple different angles to get it to seat down without forcing it. And there it goes. It should slide home easily. I shouldn't have to put much, weight or effort into inserting it there. Now we'll go ahead and take our 2 bolts and insert those, again starting things by hand. And what we're doing here is we're basically walking down the carburetor itself to give even clamping force left to right. We don't want to fully tighten one side without getting the other pretty much right there. And again, these are all 1/4 inch tools, so we're not applying too much torque. You can see I'm really choked up on the ratchet head. just spinning them in and making them snug. You don't have to kill anything when it comes to a carburetor replacement. Next, we're going to reattach the fuel feed, the main fuel line. So we'll get that pushed down essentially to the proper depth. And then next we're going to reinstall the hose clamp. It'll have kind of a witness to where it was before, so we can just drop it in. And then we'll turn on our fuel valve to allow fuel to start flowing naturally into the carb. And next move on to hook up our fuel primer. Then we'll actually prime some fuel into the fresh carb. Here we're going to turn our fuel valve back off just as we continue reassembly. Next is going to be our grill intake filter. I think these are 10 mil, just a couple 10 mil bolts holding this on. However, we're going to make sure to tighten it all the way down so that we don't have any play in the sealing surface between this and the carb itself. Again, all 1/4-inch tools here, so we don't have to crank anything down. We don't have to kill any of these bolts, just snug, and then a little bit of a turn past. Now we're going to grab our lower cover and insert, I think these are a couple more 10 mils, just to hold this cover on. Recurring theme throughout this video and throughout a lot of this type of work, we're going to thread these by hand, and then we'll speed the process up with a Milwaukee ratchet. Then our upper cover is going to go back on. We just have 2 connections here. We're going to reconnect that fuel primer, basically that vacuum line, with a little clamp, hose clamp there. And then we just have our ignition switch, which is just 2 spade connectors that'll just push directly on. And this cover is held on with just 2 thumb screws. They're actually meant to be hand tightened and loosened. So I'll go ahead and spin those down. Anybody who's familiar with things like PC computer repairs, there's threaded thumb screws on the back. These are a bigger plastic version of those. So again, not very tight, just snug. Final piece will be our cap for our choke. And then we'll go ahead and turn our fuel back on. And then we'll go ahead and fire her up. Now we're going to go ahead and use the electric starter.
So that about does it on this series of your typical snowblower carb replacement. You know, with the right tools, with the right amount of patience. If I can do it, as Eric O always says, if I can do it, you can do it. And if you have any questions, regarding the disassembly, the inspection, the reassembly, any kind of symptoms that we experienced here today with, the failure to idle and kind of sustain itself while running, let me know down below. And with that, I will see you guys next time.